Give you my heart.
Think about it. You've been preparing for Nclex your entire 2 or 4 years, however long your nursing school was. You've been preparing for it this whole entire time. So you're more prepared than you think. I promise you. Hey y'all, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. If you are new to my channel, my name is Caitlin. I just graduated nursing school in December, and I took my Nclex a few weeks ago and I passed it, thank God. I will be starting work in January. And in this video, I just want to talk a little bit about my last semester, really my last 2 semesters, and then like preparing for Nclex and all that stuff. And a lot of y'all asked what iPad it is. It is the big iPad Pro. I believe it's a 12.7. And I'm in Texas and it's freaking snowing. It literally never snows here, so like Texas is shut down. If you know, you know. So I'm going to be going off of this list that I have written down. And just to kind of start off, your last 2 semesters, or actually I guess your whole entire nursing journey, try to kind of figure out your ways of studying, figure out like what works best for you, because my group of friends, they could study together and they could learn off of each other. But for me, I could not study with people. They would say something and then I would freak out like, wait, I don't know that. And then I would get in my head and just feel like they're further along than I am. And that's just not like a good mindset to have whenever you're trying to study for a test. So for me, I found out unfortunately pretty late on that studying with friends or studying with a group was not for me. And also, since I am a visual learner, studying off of the PowerPoints were not best for me. I needed to watch YouTube videos, I needed to listen to it, I needed to see it, and just reading off of something was not helpful for me. I wasn't retaining anything. I think it was about my 3rd semester when I realized, okay, I need to study by myself. And that's kind of when I started getting better in school. Like, okay, this works best for me and this doesn't work for me, so let's go off of that. Your last semester, I know like you want to start like preparing for Nclex, getting your study material, but honestly, for me at least, this is just my opinion, focus on your last semester, because you have to pass your last semester or you're not going to even be taking your Nclex, you know what I mean? Focus on your last semester. Think about it. You've been preparing for Nclex your entire 2 or 4 years, however long your nursing school was. You've been preparing for it this whole entire time. So you're more prepared than you think. I promise you. It will all come back to you like you are more prepared than you think. So with that being said, finish out your last semester of nursing school strong. Be prepared for those tests. Study and focus on those tests. And get through the semester, graduate. So along with that, be on top of your BON, because that is Board of Nursing. If you're not there yet, that's getting your fingerprint. Your school will send your AOG, which is just proof of your graduation. Be on top of that, because if you're not, you can fall behind and maybe you'll miss your start date or something. A girl in my class was waiting for her ATT code, her authorization to test for her Nclex. She wasn't getting it, and so then she called the Board of Nursing. Well, I guess they had her last name wrong in the system or something like that, so she hasn't even gotten her code to test yet, and her job starts in 2 weeks. So there's probably a little panic there. So just make sure you're on top of it, because you never know like what's going on behind the scenes. Make sure you're up to date on everything. Also, again, this is just my opinion, I did not get Uworld until I graduated. Because 1, Uworld is expensive. Uworld literally prepares you so much. At least it prepared me. I did 100 questions at least a day. So I took my rationales and I organized them. I organized them into like different systems. So I have liver, GI, virus, vaccines, diseases, neuro, precautions, just like all that different stuff. I know it looks like a lot, but honestly, like, think about it. How many times are you going to see the same concept, just a different question in Uworld? You see the same things a lot. Not the same questions, but the same concept. So if you have something on cirrhosis, you have a question on cirrhosis, and you get your rationale, you take your rationale and you can put it in your notes or whatever. 100 questions later, you get another question on cirrhosis. Well, you have a different question, so therefore you have a different rationale. Well, you can easily go to your liver and then you go to cirrhosis, and then type in that rationale. But at least your notes can be organized and you know like what you need to focus more on. And you know, hopefully that made sense. Oh my gosh, I was kind of just rambling. And I feel like I'm gonna be everywhere in this video because I have not made a video in a while. Okay, so Uworld is obviously expensive. Split it with a friend. I don't know, a couple girls in my class split it up. And honestly, just depend like what your money situation is. If you can't afford to do it by yourself, definitely try that, because that way you know what you specifically need to focus on. Say you split it with a friend, well then it looks like you have 100 missed questions when really it's their missed questions too, so you don't know what you specifically are lacking knowledge in, if that makes sense. So like I said, I did 100 questions, and then I would take a few days to redo my missed questions just to see if I know the information and not just doing it based off of memory. I feel like if you do your missed questions like the next day, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, I remember that question at C. Like if you wait a couple days or even like a week to try your missed questions again, you're doing it based off of your knowledge versus, oh, memory of the question. And also, don't be discouraged on your score from Uworld. I was literally getting like 40s and 50s, and then I passed my Nclex. So like, don't feel discouraged if you're not doing too well on Uworld, because like you see the most randomest things. You'll see stuff that you've never even heard of your whole entire nursing career. Like, so just don't feel discouraged. Don't beat yourself up over it. If you're failing Uworld quizzes, that does not mean you're gonna fail your Nclex. Stay encouraged. Stay positive. If you need to go over rationales a little extra, take a day to go over rationales. Okay, and another thing, people swear by these Mark K lectures. Honestly, they were not helpful for me. Like I said, I'm a visual learner, so hearing the lectures and not seeing like even the notes in front of me, it was not helpful for me. Like I was not retaining it. And like people are like, oh, listen to them when you're driving and stuff like that. Like it wasn't helpful for me because I couldn't like write it down, and I would hear something and be like, oh, that's helpful, and then like I'm driving, so it's not like I can write it down or something. So maybe if you sit and like actually take notes over his lectures, they could be helpful. But for me, since I wasn't seeing it and I didn't have notes in front of me, it was not helpful for me. So really, Uworld was my key helper in my studying. Okay, another thing is treat Uworld like you're actually taking the Nclex. So maybe do 75 questions at a time. I feel like doing 10 questions at a time, yes, it's helpful just because you're still getting practice in. I think if you treat your practice questions like the actual Nclex and sit down and actually take it all at one time, you're going to be more prepared and less impatient when you're in the real test, because you already know what it feels like to sit through 75 questions. And also on Nclex, I'm sure y'all know this, there's no going back. So treat Uworld like that too. If you answer a question on Uworld, try not to go back, because you can't really do that in the Nclex. So just try to treat it like the real test. Also, no two Nclexes are the same. I had people, what was on your test? What was on your test? I'm like, just because it was on my test doesn't mean it's going to be on your test. I'm sure a lot of people know this. So like if I'm telling you something you already know, just double click. But Nclex will test you based off of like how you're answering the questions, which obviously y'all probably know, because you either get 75 questions or you can get all of them, which is like 100 and something questions. And also another thing, I don't understand why this is a thing. So like you tell people you passed and then, oh, how many questions did you get? Why does that matter? Like, I'm sorry, but I just don't understand. Like, if I tell you I pass, why does it matter how many questions I had? Like, it's not a competition. It's not like, that just literally blows my mind that I got so many people asking me how many questions I had, and I just don't get why that matters. A pass is a pass, but that's just my opinion, you know. Anyways, oh, another thing is preparing for your interviews. Question was, how would previous coworkers describe me? Like, would they describe me as a team player? Would they describe me as positive? Like, how would they describe me? And of course, I said I'm a team player, because I am. And you can also use like life situations to kind of back that up. I was a soccer player, and so I've always been on a team. If I see somebody struggling, like, I'm gonna go over there and help them. They want to hear stuff like that because they want to know that you're gonna be a good coworker. But if y'all want a whole video on interviews, I can totally do that because I actually have all my interview questions written down in my notes. But TikTok was literally a lifesaver when preparing for my interviews. I would write down all the possible interview questions and what my response would be. That way I would already have something kind of in my head. And honestly, all my interview questions I already had written down except for like one or two, but they were kind of similar, so I already had a response. Having something that you could use in your interview, like already written down or already in your head, or maybe like a scenario. I think that's really all that I want to talk about. If you have any Nclex questions or if you have any interview questions, I'd be happy to make a whole nother video over either of them. Message me on Instagram at CaitlinSladania or comment them down below if you have any questions. So yeah, message me if you have any questions, and thank you for watching.